Good afternoon. I'm Giorgia Simeoni from Istat, and I will show you something on the business group. First of all, GSIM is usually considered as a model, an information model to represent data and concept, population, variables, units, and classifications and data structures. But there is also the business group that is able to represent statistical programs and the process undertaken to deliver those programs. Please consider that a statistical program in GSIM is the correspondent of a survey. So it's quite similar to the concept of a statistical business process of GSBPM that maybe is a model that is widely known in the audience. You see from the picture that the business group is quite complex and it allows to represent a different scenario. In particular, from the identification and evaluation of statistical needs and to the definition of a statistical program to answer to the statistical need, then the design and management of the statistical program, and the description on how a business process runs in terms of steps, inputs and outputs, and also the reuse of business service. But these are only some of the scenarios that you can represent with the business group. It will not be possible to explain everything in this short presentation, but you can refer to the GSIM user guide from which the pictures are taken and to the GSIM repository on GitHub for the definition of the single entities, and also the very useful explanatory notes, and sometimes also some indication on the possible attributes you can attach to each of these information classes. So let's start with the sort of one scenario that we can represent, that is how we can pass from the statistical need to a statistical program. So the statistical need is quite easy to understand, is an information need from a user that can be a different type. For example, it can come from an external environmental change, let's say a change in legislation, or from an information request from the users. The environmental change can also be a new data source that is available, or, for example, a new methodology, a new technique that has been developed. From these statistical needs, we need to initiate a business case. That is how the statistical office can answer to this statistical need. We can also remind to the definition of the business case, that is one of the sub-processes of GSBPM in the first phase on the specification of needs. And this when the statistical office define at a high level how to answer to the needs. So it decides if using administrative data to produce statistics, or if make a new survey, for example. It can be that the statistical need is not so well defined, need a statistical support activity that can be methodology experts or metadata experts that should make a change definition, so should change a definition to better describe the statistical need. Once the business case has been defined, it initiates a statistical program that should be based on a statistical program design that starts from the business case, obviously. Now let's try to understand how all this very theoretical notion can be applied in different ways. The first one is very simple. Let's suppose we are in the European statistical system. We have very often European regulation that ask us to provide new information. So suppose that we have a regulation on the European Health Interview Survey that is that entry in force. So we have an environmental change that provide the statistical need. The regulation, it's very clear in the definition of variables, of units. So we have already a very clear definition of the need. We can initiate a business case, and so we propose a document that proposes a new survey because it's clear from the regulation that we have to do a new survey. But we don't need to make a change definition, but we can initiate the survey based on a survey design. In another case, we can have a more general statistical need, a more generic statistical need that can be that the users request more timely data on tourism. So the business case that this statistical need generates is a proposal to use mobile phone data to integrate a traditional survey. Obviously, this proposal needs the statistical support activity of methodology and quality management to apply some definitions or adapt some definitions or define a new methodology, evaluate the quality levels of this data. And so they will make a change definition to describe better the statistical need. On the basis of this change definition and the business case, a new production process for tourism statistics will be proposed based on a redesign of the production process. Obviously, this is very, very simplified, and the use of new data sources in official statistics, as we know, is very complex, but this was just an example to see how this generic model can be applied in different situations. Okay, when we after we have a statistical program, we have to put it into practice, to implement it with a statistical program cycle that basically is an edition of the statistical program that implements the design. And usually a statistical program cycle includes different business process. Now we can consider in this situation that the business process of GSIM can be compared with the phases of GSBPM. So we can have that the edition of the European Health Interview Survey includes the data collection phase, the processing phase, the analysis phase, that they are all business processes, and each business process has process steps. And the different process steps can be mapped to the different GSBPM sub-processes. Each process steps can be implemented through business services that can be, for example, IT component that can be reused and implements a specific process design, specific methodology, for example. And the reuse of business services obviously is at the base of the modernization process. Okay, so this is indeed a mapping of the different concepts from the business group and the different level of GSBPM. Usually the statistical program is mapped to the statistical business process, the business process of GSIM to the phase of GSBPM, and the review the sub-processes of GSBPM to process steps. Then, since a process step can have some sub-steps, also the tasks in GSBPM can be mapped as process steps. Please consider that this mapping is sort of convenience in the sense that GSIM is very generic in its nature, and you can decide to map a process step at different level of detail, depending on your objective, on your interest. If you are developing the software for a specific step, for example, classifying and code for a specific sub-process, maybe you will define the different steps as a sub-part of this sub-process. So the level of detail is can be variable. You see that also in the input and the output you can find some references to the business group classes. Indeed, here there is another example on how you can detail a process step instance with the classes of the business group. Is very similar to the example made by Flavio that was taken from the work of the task team on linking GSIM and GSBPM, but here the focus is on the elements of the business group that specify the role of different information classes from other groups can assume during the implementation of a process step. We can start from the method, suppose to be in the editing and imputation step, and we have the process step instance that is a specific instance of this step. So we are in the editing and imputation for January 2024 data. So considering our inputs, the core input will be the survey row dataset. So the dataset is another information classes, and the represented variable that we are interested in will be the instance variable with the turnover, but it's only a set of value I put, for example. And suppose we have as a parameter a threshold to identify outliers, and this threshold identify the number 3, the row number 3 as an outlier. And we have also some support input from an administrative data set. So we use a not-deck imputation method. That means that we have a donor from an external sources, and we obtain as an output a clean data set in which the row number 3 was modified, was imputed. And this is the core output, while the imputation rate is a metric and is a reference metadata, is an inequality indicator that in this case it's the 25%. And obviously we can also consider the execution time of the of the operation. And this is all by my side. It was an example of application of the business group.